Well, I guess as far as the beginning is, I moved into the area in 1970. Started working at Largo High School, and I ran into my old DP here, Brother John Robertson, and we were working with a lady named Mrs. McIntosh, and we didn't know who that was, but we found out her husband was an Omega man. And we started talking, and back in the early part of '72, and I guess November, December, we were really getting into it, and the two of us recruited about 10 brothers from LG, from Elizabeth City, our line brothers back in college. And then I guess you can take it from there.
Well, at the time I was a member of Alpha Omega in the district, and I just moved to Prince George's County and wanted to stay active in the fraternity, so I was thinking about joining Mule Road chapter over in Annapolis. But what happened, the brothers started talking about establishing a chapter here in Prince George's County, Gamma Pi. As a result of those discussions, we had Gamma Pi to come out of that, and of course you had Elizabeth City brothers, and then we had about eight or nine brothers from Tulsa. And I just felt the need to be a part of that, and so happy that I did.
As we continue to pull in brothers from the different chapters, having the same interests, we also had a real support base in that our wives were continuously brought in to support us, and they became an integral part of the what would be Gamma Pi, because we truly did utilize our wives a great deal back in the time. And as I reminisce back to that, it would be nice if we could have such a gathering now, but with 194 brothers and their wives or significant others, we'd certainly have to have a huge spot to have such a gathering, but that would be wonderful.
I met John and Donald at the University of Maryland. We all went over there in grad courses, and we just happened to be talking, and I found out they were Qs, and I think it was either John or Donald that mentioned they were going to try to start a chapter here in PG County, and I was all for that. And come to find out that they had about 10 guys from Elizabeth City, and there was only one that I could bring in from A&T, and that was Giles Bragg, and I think the others from North Carolina Central and South Carolina State, Gilmore, and maybe a couple of others. I don't remember where they went to school. But at that time, we were a close-knitted group, just like brothers, real brothers and families. And when we met, it was just a family, really, meeting. And it just took off from there, and we started gathering other brothers, and before we knew it, we had gotten to a large chapter.
Mm-hmm. And we really bonded well, because it seems as if it was all for one for all. You had Tim was the first bossless, and I believe he was bossless, 73, 74, then 72 and 73. Then 73, 74. John Robinson followed him. I believe John was 74, 75. I followed John, but I was the very first keeper of records and seal for the chapter, so played a pretty big role as far as getting established.
And it was just true brotherhood at that time. We just felt just like we were actually blood kin, not only just frat kin, but blood kin. And as John has stated, our wives felt the same way. It was just good for us to fellowship at all times. So we just began to have meetings, and before you knew it, it was time to apply for a charter, and the charter came, and we were Gamma Pi chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
And after that, we kind of had our children. I think my daughter was probably the oldest of the group, because she was babysitting Tim's children. And Tim used to bring her home late at night, and she used to tickle me talking about Tim's driving, coming and bringing her home. But anyway, we know why that was. And we went to ball games together as a group, and then our families followed us almost everywhere we went. The children went to conclaves with us, and it just happened that three of them, I can't think of any others, Donald and Tim, I can think of others, whose sons became Qs. You know, Donald and Tom Harden's son,
Joe Williams.
Joe Williams' son,
Yeah.
and they became Qs from that. My son didn't go to college, so he didn't have a chance to get into the grad chapter, but it just brings back memories. I remember how we used to have the Valentine dinners for the wives, and we used to go out to the dinner clubs, dinner theaters together, and it's just a lot of family. That was basically what it was. The brothers knew the wives very well, the wives knew all the brothers very well, the children knew the children, and it was just a close-knit group at that time.
And George, you mentioned your babysitting for Tim. I think about Tim's daughters used to babysit for me, because back in them days we would make all the dances and do everything. We didn't let that stop us. We kept going.
That's right.
And we used to take our children to, as you said, the district meetings, and children really got to know each other really well and enjoyed each other. Another thing I like to talk about is our selling tickets for the Mardi Gras. Back in those days, we only had a few brothers, but we still did 500.
We sold out.
Sold out.
Sold out. And the children still know each other and remember each other. And if anything happens in any parts of the fraternity now with the original brothers, I would say, our children will remember the either the daughter or the son or whatever, because they fellowshiped together. And they even had their little activities at district meetings and conclaves. They were out doing their thing just like we were doing our thing at our regular meetings, etc. It was just a beautiful, beautiful time. And we wanted it that way so that we could be close together, and it was a little different from being a big chapter. Of course, we've become a big chapter here now, and of course we always have to deal with that. But back in that day when it was a small chapter, we were just family.
And it's never too late to return to the concept of building from the ground up. You can also build from the top down, meaning what we did in the old days is as good now as it was then. So to return to the flavor of family, being truly part of the Omega Spirit would just simply mean that we all have that same mindset and get back to that.
You know, piggybacking on that, I can go back to when I was at Madison Middle School, and we started the Kitty Cabaret. And I guess the point I'm making is that it doesn't make any difference what age you are, whether you're a young brother, seasoned brother, old brother. There's always something in Gamma Pi chapter that we can do and support each other. With a membership of 190 now, each brother should be involved in some type of activity, and even when it comes to fundraisers also.
And I think it was mentioned too that the fraternity, the chapter, has something that all of us can participate in. No one person will want to be involved in everything, but certainly there's so many different activities, social actions activities, etc., that we can engage in that will make this chapter continue to be the super chapter that we've adopted the name for.
I like to reflect back to our Mardi Gras and Achievement Week programs we had back in that time. We had our Mardi Gras over at the St. Margaret,
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, yeah. And we brought brown bags at that time and put on the table to feed all of our guests and so forth. Right. And it was just a joyous time. And then for the Achievement Week, we used to go to big places, Andrews, have dinners, and Sheraton, and just a lot of places where we dressed up, and we had nice dinner, and it just enjoyed that time. It's just different now than it was back in the day.
And George, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And George, you must say something about Talent Hunt, because we started doing the Talent Hunt back in those days, and we had exceptional talent. I mean, we even had the representative from our chapter for the
Go
second
to the
district
national.
would go on to the national.
Yes, that's correct. And it when we first started, it was basically just music. We didn't have the art and the dance and that kind of thing. We met at Central. We had our first Mardi Gras. Talent hunt at Central High School. So we didn't have as many types of talents that we have today, but it proved to be a very outstanding program at that time.
And one of the things that we can reflect back to is the fact that even though we are the representatives of that original group, we still have ties with the brothers who are no longer actively involved in Gamma Pi because they're out of town or whatever. But several of them come back when we have functions, even though they are some distances away, Florida or what have you. And that says something about the link in brotherhood that we had. Many of them, again, go back to the ties between the family members that keep us actively committed to knowing what's going on in the homes of each other.
Whenever we put on an affair, it was an affair to behold. Now, the Mardi Gras this year, which was exceptional, excellent, etc., that's the same kind of thing that we did back in that day. We dressed up in our refinery, etc., and the county knew when the Omegas were getting ready to have something.
I have some snapshots. As a matter of fact, I was looking through the archives of all of the pictures that I've taken over the years, and it's amazing to see us then as compared to now. Not a lot of change. Chick.
I should mention Tom Harden, who's a good toss-our brother with me. He also founding member of Gamma Pi. Likes to come back. He was back here this year for the Mardi Gras, and he enjoys coming back to the area. He lives in Newbern, North Carolina, but he enjoys coming back to play golf and interact with the brothers in Gamma Pi.
I also want to kind of think back to the professions of all the brothers at that time, and as I recall, I think a majority of the brothers in that starting chapter were teachers, and like you said, a lot of them from Elizabeth City, and most of those became principals in the county. And it's just ironic that a lot of them were teachers that were in the chapter at that time.
And you might say that stems also from the fact of what Don said earlier, that it was, I'd say, my wife that knew teachers, and Don who knew teachers at that time, and that's just the sort of pool that we gravitated to at that particular time. It could have been anybody, but the teachers were the ones, and they were the elite, as I said, back in that day.